Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It's been a little while. I always start videos out this way. God, first of all, I am freezing. Winter has come very, very quickly, it seems. From like kinda warm weather to like absolutely freezing cold in like absolutely no time at all. I didn't have any like warm pajamas left because I need to buy more, so I'm wearing like shorts. And I'm just wrapped up in 2 blankets. I'm absolutely frozen. And also, I didn't have much of a chance, or I've been tired and quite busy lately, especially with school because all of my teachers set homework at the same time. Because school sucks, so I haven't had a huge amount of time to record audio for this, so this is actually an old speed paint. It's from Asexual Visibility Week. There'll be another one coming up. But the 2 characters that are in this video are Taig, who's the first one that I'm drawing now. He's the kid with black hair and dark eyes, and later there'll be Adriana. I am quite proud of the one I did of Taig. I don't draw him very often, and I still don't have a completely set design for him, but I'm not super happy with the way that Adriana's face came out. I don't know, her eyes are like too far up and weirdly positioned and stuff like that, but I don't know. I mean, I never completely hate any picture I do of Adriana, mostly just because I love her so much. But yeah, it's actually weird. I didn't realise how many Ace characters I had until I was like, oh, time to draw them, and then I was like, oh dear god. But yeah, because Taig is gay and asexual, and Adriana is lesbian and ace. I have 3 characters to go who are like coming up. There's in the next speed paint whenever I manage to like do that one, which is Adrian, who's gay and ace as well, and Kieran, who's aero-ace, and Taylor, who's aromantic and... oh wait, no, grey romantic and asexual and pan. I think. Yes, I think. God. I should honestly pay more attention. Sometimes I like, because I haven't thought... I'm currently in the process of like... I'm like always in the process of like essentially overhauling an entire story of mine, because I have so many and I always have new ideas for them, but one that I haven't actually worked on in a really long time, which is kind of dumb that I'm talking about it now, because neither of the characters in this one are actually part of that story. It's actually so new to being overhauled that it doesn't even have a name, or a proper name. I've been calling it Gay Pride Demons or Burnt Instant Noodles for the past however long. Gay Pride Demons is one that currently makes less sense because the demons don't feature as heavily as they used to in my earlier concepts for it. But it actually has a distinction of being the only one that kind of takes place in the real world. Or, well, not exactly. Vampires and stuff still exist, but what's the word? Urban fantasy? I don't know if that's the right word, but it's pretty much kind of the real world, but also there's magic, is essentially that. Which is one of my favourite genres. I can't believe I've never, like, I only have one, but, yeah, I don't know. But, anyway, these 2, characters, Taig is from Third Time's the Charm, the one with Ellery. I think I drew him, for the Pride speed paint I did of Third Time's the Charm, which I don't think I did a voiceover for, which is a shame. Wait, did I? God, I don't remember if I did actually. I might have. I don't remember. Taig's design... Taig is one of my newer characters actually, because he wasn't ever like an original idea for a character, because I kind of came up with like Ellery and Winter for that one. Ellery being like the chosen one, Winter being like their best friend who's like from their hometown and went to accompany them, and then the other 3 characters that I kind of thought of, I just kind of wanted, like, I knew kind of wanted, like, several main characters to be, like, traveling together, but I didn't know who. And then I came up with a basic concept that would eventually turn into Taig. I feel kind of weird about sharing details about Taig's, like, backstory and stuff, and also like any of the characters' backstory now, more than I ever did with essentially any other story, because Third Time's a Charm is one of those things that I actually like really want to someday turn into something. Like, it's either they're going to be that or like Springs of Eden, that I think if I ever do turn into a story, like a comic or graphic novel or something when I'm older, or webcomic when I'm older, that it's going to be like one of those two stories that I'd turn into that first. And so I still kind of feel weird sharing like all of the details. I share it with my friends so they know, but a lot of Tyke's backstory is like heavily just like plot heavy, and like if I were to reveal like all of the details of like his backstory and stuff, it would be like many years down the line if I ever do turn it into like a thing. It would like spoil it. It's like spoilers for something that doesn't exist and will not exist for many years, if it even does. But yeah, I don't know. But God, sometimes it actually can be quite difficult not to be able to share some details about him though, because like, God, I love him, and like, God, I love all of the characters that I have. But yeah, for a while I didn't think I would actually I didn't know if I would get all of the things done for Ace Visibility Week, because I've tried to do it for like stuff for like Trans Visibility Day and stuff like that, and I never managed to do that. And I think the nice thing about Ace Visibility Week is that I do have like a week for it, you know? So I don't have to like pack everything into like one day. And I don't think, I only have I think I have 5 Ace characters, I think, at least main characters. But on the plus side, like, well, 3 of them in the same world. Adrian, Kieran and Taylor are all in the same universe, so none of the ones in this video. Adriana being part of my oldest story, which I think I'm going to call it On the Horizon. Again, I'm always overhauling stories, so the entire story there is like changed. I always lose track of like what I've said in videos before. But yeah. The other thing that's like cool to look back on with because in Third Time's the Charm, which was like the second story I ever created after On the Horizon, or came up with, I already kind of knew that like, yeah, pretty much everyone's gonna be gay. Like I just kind of knew, because by that point I was like way more like, I don't know. It's weird to think that like when I came up with the first ever concept for On the Horizon, I didn't even know that I was a member of the community, and I certainly like, I mean, for like a really long time I thought I was bi, for like a few years there. And I don't know, it just like, it's weird to think that probably the reason why I didn't immediately jump to all of the characters being gay was because I was like, oh god, 11 or 12? Jesus. And it just didn't like occur to me. I remember being like really nervous about making Miko and Calder gay, even though it's like the first relationship I ever created in characters that I still have. It was actually like, it felt weird to me, mostly just because it like had not been a thing for me. I don't know, until I got like access to the internet. And I certainly like, I used to, god, because like when I was younger, I really didn't, especially like before I realized I was aro, well probably like a bit before, because I started having a much higher understanding of like asexual people probably a bit before, and that was kind of what led me to realize I was aro, because I followed a bunch of people and then they started talking about aromanticism and then it made sense, which is kind of how I figured out I was aro. But before that, like when I first started making characters, I didn't really know that much about asexual people. I don't know what I didn't really have any opinions on them. I was like, yeah, they're just members of the community and I didn't know that much about them. Kind of like how I used to view trans people when I first found out about them. I was like, oh, that's a thing. And I just didn't look into it any further until like quite a while later, when it was brought to my attention more, mostly through Tumblr, and people like talking about it, and then I was like, oh, that, okay. And then I became aware of it like that. But Yeah, it's weird because I used to just be like, oh yeah, they can be ace, I guess, and then just not give that much thought into like how it would affect them. Though I do that with all the characters, to be honest. Even when I first created like gay pride demons, which takes place like more in the real world than the other ones, so I didn't actually have to like make up how lots of people would react to the characters being members of the community, because I could just base it off of like real world experiences. I still don't like completely think through how it affected them. It's only been more recently that I've started thinking it through. I don't know how other people like tend to make characters, but sometimes when I come up with like an idea for something that has like deeply affected a character. So for example in Gay Pride Demons, which I really need a different name for, I need like an actual title for that. I just feel weird just saying Gay Pride Demons non-stop. All of the characters kind of had all of the characters growing up in the mostly real world did have sexuality and gender be like and also like other real world things like race and things like that like actually affect them. It's not like in any other fantasy thing that I create where I can kind of like come up with the exact way that they would affect them. Like in Springs of Eden it does affect characters. It affects Sephra. I didn't draw Sephra. Okay. Well, she's not like super developed anyway. Like I'm still coming up with her, but she's Aero at least. I'll draw her for Aero Visibility Week. That's actually something that really annoyed me, by the way. Just a quick note before I go back to the actual topic I was talking about, which was more interesting. But like people are started referring to this week as like Ace and Aero Visibility Week, and it's not. That's wrong. Aero Visibility Week is the week following Valentine's Day in February. Asexuality and aromanticism are different things. Yes. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the way that like gender and sexuality influence characters. Because they live mostly in the real world, it just like the way that I write, like when something there's like a thing about a character that like influences them, their backstory, I just like write entire things and I essentially write out their entire backstory and like not necessarily a timeline because I do it in like paragraphs and I don't like draw out a timeline or anything, but I essentially create one in my head of like how it affected them through the years and like the different opinions that they had on it. I do this with not only with like them being members of the LGBT community. I've like slightly more recently started thinking about the character of mine, Harper, who is a werewolf, and how his opinions on werewolves changed from when he was quite young and only had what other people said to go off, and then when he was turned, and then all that other stuff. I don't know, and it's interesting because I really like, I don't know, I've always found it really interesting the way that like, what would the word be? The like variety of human experiences. That sounds like pretentious almost, but it is interesting to me, like because for example two characters, Kieran and Taylor, who are both they're both aromantic. Taylor is grey sexual and aromantic, and they're both trans, with Kieran being a trans guy and Taylor being notoire, I think is the, I don't know how you pronounce it. It's like it's neutral, essentially. And they go by they, them pronouns. And even though they're both trans and they're both ace, or on the ace spectrum, and they're both aro, like seeing the like wild differences, the absolutely wild differences between like their experiences. And they grew up together as well. Like, I don't know, like it's interesting to see like, even though they're very similar, like people, and they're essentially like, I mean they kind of grew up a lot together and they're in a queer platonic relationship now. But it's interesting to see like how exactly like them being, the two of them being trans, affected them differently, and how them being aromantic affected them differently in the way that like, for instance, I don't know, it's not as easy to do with like the fantasy characters and the ones who live in the real world, mostly just because the ones who live in the fantasy world, their world doesn't have the same views on like the LGBT community as we do, so it's not like as relevant of a comparison to make. But Adrian, who's gay and asexual, and Tig, who I'm drawing currently, I think, who is also gay and asexual, have very different experiences with it, and also just like how they have like how they handle relationships, with Tig being single and Adrian being in a committed relationship with Harper, and also like the relationship that Adrian has like with Harper. The two are dating and have known each other for a while, but the way that like they're both gay and they're both cis, but Adrian is ace, and the different experiences they have being gay, being two gay guys, and then the difference in experience with Harper being allosexual and Adrian being asexual, and how that kind of affects their yeah, I don't know, it's interesting, and how it like affects their relationship a bit. Yeah, and even like within the same family. So Adrian is gay and ace, and he has a sister, Callisto, who is a trans woman. She is bisexual, and the way that like they grew up in the same environment essentially, but the different views that they have on their identities and how they both have like individual like experiences with like coming to terms with it. I don't know, it's interesting, and I like thinking about it. I always find it really interesting to hear like other people's stories about it. I don't know, it's just so interesting to me. I really just can't explain it. It's just really, really interesting to me. I love hearing about it, and I think there's nothing cooler than like hearing about how people have like their like personal experiences it with themselves has like changed, and with like identity. I don't know. Humans are so cool, everyone. You guys. Humans are just like the absolute variety that people can have and experience, even growing up in the exact same environment, and even if they're two people who have the exact same identity, like two women growing up in the exact same place, they could be siblings, or twins even, who are both lesbian, for instance, and just the absolute way that just, I don't know, experience everything can be wildly different. It's really cool, I think, and I really love thinking about it, especially in terms of characters as well. I feel like it also just makes it like more realistic. I don't know how well it would work in the fantasy worlds, but in Gay Pride Demons, I really do think that like the more I work on like the characters' relationships with themselves and different aspects of themselves, and not necessarily just them being members of the community, though that is all I've talked about for this video, but also like well, I did talk a little bit about Harper being a werewolf, and Kieran is a vampire, and I don't know, just relationship with identity essentially and themselves. I don't know. I think thinking about that is like a really good thing to think about with characters. That might just be because I'm a very internal person, but I don't know. Is internal person a thing that you can say? Introverted? No. Oh, what's the word? Introspective? I'm looking this up. Define introspect. Characterized by introspection, the act or process of looking into oneself. Examination of one's own conscious thoughts and feelings. In psychology, the process of introspection relies exclusively on observation of one's mental state. Nice. Yeah, I'd probably describe myself as quite like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think about like that a lot. It's one of the main things that I daydream about when I'm pacing up and down in my room and keeping my parents awake. Sorry, parents. And actually, wait, I can talk about, and also like, I've just remembered, I don't know, because I'm definitely editing bits of this audio out. I literally did have like a solid like minute of silence and I thought of the next thing to say. So yeah, this definitely won't line up, but when I'm working on Adriana right now, and Adriana and Caradwen's different relationship with identity is actually kind of, I want it to be like contrasted if I ever turn it into a story. With Adriana, not only like with just her being an ace lesbian, essentially as long as she has known what being a lesbian was and being ace was, she is identified as both of them, and she is so just sure of herself. Like that is a huge part of her. Like she just kind of knows. And then there's Caradwen, and also like Rowan, I should mention, but he's not like as contrasted with her because they're not like, I don't think they're like the same age, and yeah. But Rowan, for instance, is still questioning. He's non-binary, he's pretty sure he's not straight, but other than that he doesn't really know. But he's taking his time, but Caradwen, she has a bit complicated relationship with identity for various backstory reasons, and she like kind of looks at Adriana and is like, how do you exist? Like almost like she is a just like, I don't know, like in awe of like how she just can just kind of be so sure of herself, in that like, how do you just know that you're an ace lesbian? How are you so sure that for as long as you've known what being an ace lesbian was, that you were that thing? And God, she admires that certainty, and like how easy it seems to be for Adriana. But yeah, I don't know, I like thinking about it, and it definitely affects the relationship. God, that's another thing, the way that identity affects relationships. God, I could go on like many tangents, but I think I need notes for it, otherwise it would be completely incomprehensible. I don't have that much else to say. I know the video is definitely not done yet, but I think I'll just let music play out from the rest of this. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Goodbye.